So I want to talk about something, and I think we were talking a little about this off camera. About
A little bit. We talk about it the whole time. That was our pre-production thing.
For the compare and contrasting of the differences between the three generations that happen to inhabit the United States right now.
And we were also lucky enough to be alive to interact with the greatest generation too.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about that, but I do want to mention that.
Well, to me, the greatest generation, they sacrifice more than anyone.
Yeah, World War II, Korean War.
But even the people who didn't go to war and didn't do the war, the people who are like, I mean, pre-civil rights, if you're like just black or a woman or a minority in this country, was fucking hard. and
well, you know what? Most minorities during that time period had a chip on their shoulder where they were proving their worth.
Well, most minorities, there was actually some very prosperous neighborhoods. And one of the things that living in California, you don't see prosperous, like minority neighborhoods. So like I know in places in Spring, Texas, like especially where my cousin lives, it's a majority black neighborhood and it's pretty prosperous, or where they live. It's like, or it'll be a mixed neighborhood, but it won't be like an all white neighborhood, but it will be pretty prosperous. I know North Carolina, they have it. So a lot of times when people go to different places and outside of California and they see some like middle class or upper middle class black people, it really freaks them out. They're like, oh, wow, like in Atlanta has a bunch of it. And they're like, wow, people are really doing well here. Where when you go into California, like literally, I think there's Baldwin Hills in LA area. That's established upper middle class black neighborhood. But that's basically it.
That's a very small pocket.
Yeah.
In LA.
Yeah. But that's basically it. So when I see stuff like that, it kind of brings your attention. With that being said, talking about baby boomers first, I'm just always interested on people's impression of it.
Wait. Before this, was your dad a baby boomer? Or?
Yeah, he was a boomer.
He was a boomer? Okay.
Yeah, my dad was a boomer.
Okay. So my parents were, boomer and Gen X.
Because my dad was born in 1944.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he was a baby.
He's almost actually a greatest generation boomer cusp.
Well, yeah, but he was
beginning of baby boomers.
He was born a year before. He was born a year before the World War II was over, and he was born too late to serve in the Korean War. Served in the Vietnam War. So definitely baby boomer. Served in the Vietnam War. At his age, I think he was in the early 20s.
We didn't even talk about baby boomers in the Vietnam War.
Right. Well, we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
Amazingly enough. So baby boomers, I think like and I just want to attack like what is my impression of like what each generation kind of did wrong. A lot of generations did, because there's something right going on.
Technically, millennials in the progress right now.
Yeah, but no, but just
with a general overview.
What they did wrong, or what are some of the reasons?
Characteristics too.
Yeah, characteristics is better. Like, what are some of the things that they were set up to? So one of the things I say of baby boomers was I think that it was a great amount of waste, excess and waste. I mean, I think that the 80s was all about excess, doing excessive.
Was there during like very fortunate times where a lot of abundance and actual material abundance that you could see and feel and touch,
right?
And knowing that America is on top.
Well, but baby boomers went through some really bad financial times in late 70s, early 80s. There was a fuel embargo. So recessions are, and even of things that affected them, like the SNL scandal of the early 90s, where that was everybody. My generation was too young to really partake in it. That was something that the baby boomers actually had. So there was some financial strife.
Madoff and the recession too.
Madoff and the recession, but Madoff and the recession also affected Gen Xers just as well as them. I was saying that the SNL scandal really didn't affect me as somebody in the working world. So I'll just try to use like me being in the working world as a people of work age as a thing, even though children do feel the brunt of it, right? But as a meter, just so we can know what we're talking about. So let's see, what did boomers have? Boomers had the Vietnam War, right? Had the war in Panama, some conflicts, but I think the Vietnam War, the fuel embargo, the hostage situation in the Middle East, those are some of the bigger things that like kind of would scare people.
Plane hijackings.
That
was pretty big.
The Cold War, boomers had to deal with just the thought that Russia was going to
go on their desks and nuclear bombs,
missiles and things like that. So there was some stress there. there was stress, but most of the stress was probably held over from World War II, because even like the terrorism really didn't start in the Middle East, I believe, until Israel was actually formed. And as a result,
and that was started Egypt and Israel coming in, and they were protesting. Yeah,
right. So if my sense of history is correct, so what I'll say about what I'll say about boomers is that they had some chances to change things. Like Jimmy Carter said, we have to get off of foreign oil, and people just laughed at him. They talked about the military-industrial complex, and that was Eisenhower, who was a military man.
Korean War, yeah.
Smedley, Major Colonel Smedley Butler, who was a Marine, talked about the fallacy of wars and what he had done. And so there's a lot of warning signs here, but I think the excess and the excessive nature of just a generation of like, you know what, there's times have been bad, but we're far away from the Great Depression. We're far away from World War II. We've gone through we've gone through some of the Korean War. We got the war in Vietnam. Let's have a good time now. It's over. And I think from the 80s till basically going into the 90s was excess and like really letting some things go that shouldn't go.
And also that was during a time when college degrees actually meant something.
College
gave you a guaranteed job.
Yeah.
The moment you
college degrees meant something. They gave you a guaranteed job. Trade schools were good.
Trade schools were really good. Vocational
manufacturing
schools.
Was absolutely.
Stepmom, she was a court reporter for San Francisco. And that was a vocational school that she went to, made
easily, right? Like, and with a job that was like a great job. You're not killing yourself and just not. You're
working
just
for the government, too.
Right. With a great retirement. Also, here's something that I would say that people really, really, I want to articulate this correctly. People really didn't think about that. They had in that generation a lot of cocaine and a war on drugs.
Charlie,
yeah, the war on drugs coming into the country, and I think that we had a lot of chances at every turn to do some things right and correctly, and that by not doing it right and correctly, that generation that came back to bite us. Now, I don't know any people. I mean, I know Democrats and Republicans who think that Bill Clinton shouldn't have been impeached for
Monica Lewinsky, cigar scandal underneath the desk.
But he lied under oath. So he probably should have been impeached because that's a crime.
He lied on national television.
Yeah, under oath though. Under oath.
Yeah.
Under oath, like in his deposition. So, and then he said, I think he had a discussion about the word they or something, or them or the. It was pretty cool. Or is something like that.
He didn't get removed. He got impeached.
He got impeached, but he didn't get removed. Yeah. Just like I believe that. But I also believe that we set a standard, right? So now when we go here and we see like Donald Trump, and I don't know, I haven't seen the trial. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's kind of like, well, did Donald Trump do something improper that was against the rules? Yes or no? And if it's yes, the president should be held to a high standard. He should be impeached, right? But it doesn't work like that because it's a political situation. It's not a legal situation. Yeah. So whatever. But I think that
political theater.
But I think that when you go back to the politics of Bill Clinton, that was another thing that like, hey, things are going good. The economy's great. Let's not fuck that up. Let's keep them in there. It was excess. So that's my impression of baby boomers as far as like just some of the highlights in my life that I've seen. Because now generation.
And also wanting things to stay as they are, always staying with fossil fuels, not really wanting change. And also being blind to the coming automation that's coming.
Right. And because they're doing things the way that they've been doing it, it kind of guarantees that things have to change.
Yeah.
But they don't want it to change.
Okay, and now since you're going towards Gen X, the baby boomers majority of them were parents to the Gen Xers.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so Gen X, here are some things that I remember. I got spanked and beat up to a certain point when I did things wrong. My mom never gave a fuck about that number you can call, but they had introduced that like you can't spank your kid's number.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing that we were fucking just lazy. When I say lazy, like we had more opportunities. Gen X has had more opportunities.
Lazy
than anyone else.
Bunch of opportunities.
With a bunch of opportunities. So like I know a bunch of people who are my.
Would you say because you guys were seeing how America was riding high, it didn't seem like America was going to get toppled.
No, it had nothing to do that. I think it just has to do with like, All right, the greatest generation seen war,
Mm-hmm.
seen a bloody war and fought the war.
Mm-hmm.
So the boomers, they were one generation removed from war, so they were.
Well, Vietnam though.
But they were one generation removed from the World War.
Okay.
And then they had their war. So they were like, and they had the Vietnam War, but the Vietnam War was the first.
Unpopular too.
It was unpopular. It was a televised war, but it didn't last. Not so many people died, right? And it wasn't.
So many people died in such a short amount of time. Yeah.
And it wasn't all like, you didn't drop a bomb or anything like that. And so the boomers, they said, okay, I know how bad it can be, so I'm going to enjoy how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
My generation, we were just enjoying how good it is, but we don't know how bad it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I really think. Like once you get that third generation away from a tragedy.
Would you say that's why grunge came around, because of the angst?
I think grunge came around because people wanted to rebel. I don't know. I was just happy grunge came around because I was really sick of the rock music, the rock music that was
hair
out.
metal.
Well, no, I didn't mind hair metal, but everyone just started sounding the same. So like I didn't mind.
What about like the what do they call the Euro pop, or what do they call that kind of music?
Oh, Euro pop? I don't know. I never liked none of that shit.
It's like it had kind of like,
yeah.
You remember the 80s sound?
Yeah. Only body who I liked who made that type of pop funk music was Prince. And I was like, if you ain't Prince fucking with it, fuck off. So the thing like about Generation X is that we were lazy and we had a ton of opportunities. And plus we also had the expectations.
And degrees still meant something too.
Yes, degrees were important. Degrees were important, but our generation also valued degrees so much that we thought a degree we didn't have to work once we got a degree. So I know a whole lot of people with degrees who like lived in their mom's basement for like 10 years, or who had good paying jobs but just stayed at home until it was time to move out and moved out. Where boomers would move out.
Yeah, right away.
They were gone.
Because it was like a rite of passage. You at 18, 19, 20, you get married, blah, 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 blah. It's the whole shebang.
But my generation, I've seen people more and more. I mean, I moved out early, but people more and more just hanging out. I think that we also did, and people don't really highlight this, we did some hardcore fucking drugs. Like, as far as a generation, like, we're the ones who brought methamphetamine into vogue. People were doing speed, but people who did speed were like, in my understanding, where people were like, I'm driving cross country on a truck. I need to stay up, so they do speed all night, right? To stay up, and then they go bang some lot lizard for like, they go bang some lot lizard.
How's you
That's an actual term. They bang some lot lizard with a fucking
say it 3 times
with a speed hard cock, and just never gonna come, and then they just go about their business, right? And so, but now motherfuckers started doing meth and ecstasy out of just like. I'm not talking about drugs that were like natural, like shrooms and stuff like
Chemical.
that, which our parents did, right? Our parents did shrooms and marijuana and stuff like that, and then they did some acid, and that was like chemically.
Yeah.
But no, we also did a lot of heroin and ketamine, and we did a lot of fucking drugs.
The crack cocaine at that point was
crack cocaine actually affected more boomers
than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, crack cocaine was something that people like some of our generation smoked crack cocaine, but not a lot. Not a lot. We were kind of like at the end of that. Like crack was hitting really hard in like 87, 88, 89, and 90. By 93, if you was fucking smoking crack, it's like, you old ass crackhead. Motherfucker, you a crackhead in 95. God damn it. You just, come on, man. You ain't learned shit. Didn't you see New Jack City? Didn't you see Pookie? But so we just squandered a lot of shit. But there were some things characteristically that I can personally say that we had that was very important, that helped us understand that the world will kick your ass. Number one, we didn't get participation trophies. Like, I didn't. Maybe some people did my age. Maybe that was how it was there. But I remember, like, when you were in 4th place, it was like, whoa, at least it was a 5th. But you ain't getting no ribbon. And you didn't even get a trophy for 3rd place. You got a little ribbon. 2nd place, you got a little trophy, motherfucker, was like this big. That 1st place motherfucker was flossy. It was big as a motherfucker.
Because I didn't play that many team sports when I was really young, so I didn't know about the participation trophies. But then I started realizing, oh, wait a second, 6th grade and stuff, like I know the term consolation prize.
Yeah.
I learned about like, oh yeah, we did have a participation trophy.
Yeah.
We did have all these like, even like little prizes that we would win, even if we answered like one question correct. It was like, yeah.
And my generation also was a generation that people went from fist fighting to shooting motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And
that is true, because NW, like the whole gangster rap was revolved around.
Yeah, but guns just became easier to get. Like they had the assault weapons ban, which made illegal assault weapons easy to get.
You know what? Actually, we didn't talk about this off camera, but it will lead us into the millennials too.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about weapons.
Right. So that was one of the things, like soon as assault weapons, as soon as assault weapons were banned, it's like motherfuckers were just getting unregistered. Like motherfuckers was just driving up the street too. It wasn't like people were super connected. Like the same place you sold weed, you got some weed dude. I mean, who you brought weed from? You say, hey man, I have to get a piece. Oh yeah, I give you something, man. Because the person who sold you weed or sold you this probably knew somebody who could do something else.
And during that time, weed was very expensive. And
dude,
people were killing each other very easily.
Weed was $75 an eighth.
Yeah. And for pounds for like 5,000 or some shit.
Bank, dude,
people die for that type of stuff.
We never even thought that marijuana would be legal. The funny part is, one of the things we did was we talked to like they had like God, I forgot the rap group, but they had like mini clouds of smoke. And
speaking of that, you sent me that forum podcast with Snoop Dogg, Harrington, and other people in the weed industry.
Yeah.
And how Snoop Dogg said that in the beginning, the reason why weed became his symbol, his brand, was because he was putting it in place of him selling crack cocaine during the time period. And he needed something lesser that he can go behind that wouldn't draw as much as attention.
Yeah.
So that's, I always thought, I was like, wow, that's actually fascinating how, I mean, of course he was smoking way earlier, but it was attempted to cover up the other stuff.
Right. So the people who did Many Clouds of Smoke was a group out of the Bay Area called Total Devastation. It came out in 1993. So in 1993, it's like,
five on it. Well, they didn't do that.
No, that was the Loonies. But they're like, roll up a fat one and pass it around. I want to get brother. Here we go. It was really bad rapping.
It was bad.
I mean, I think it was dope at the time, but with Total Devastation, when you look at it, you're like, I mean, they sold 60,000 copies of their debut, so that's pretty good, right? But the thing is about that is that they even said him could be the start of the healing of the nation. It was so optimistic that you knew nobody thought that it was going to happen. And now, like, marijuana is legal in California, not legal federally, but I have a funny feeling it should be within a year. I mean,
if you look at how they made the laws, it's in favor of big companies.
Yeah.
So it will turn. It's setting up the pathway for the big companies to finally just take over.
Yeah. So now my opinion of so I think that Generation X did nothing to make things better. We've done nothing to make things better. Now since we fucked up,
coasting and enjoying.
Yeah. Now that we fucked up, burnt garbage in backyards, now we want to buy a Prius and be self-righteous. Oh, I drive a Prius. I'm here for the environment.
Because at that point, Gen X also became more educated with environmental impact and societal impact, and actually the prevalence of media transitioning to internet media.
Yeah.
You got more information.
Well, I mean, you have to understand.
Cable networks, too.
You got to understand. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have internet.
But at that time, cable came around.
No, cable was everywhere.
Baby boomers.
Early 80s.
Early 80s? Okay.
Early 80s. Cable. Like I had Showtime in like 87. It was bootleg from the neighborhood.
What about all the major news networks?
Well, the major news networks, CNN came about and got really popular. It was Turner Network News, TNN, and then I think it went to CNN, and that became popular during the first Desert Storm in 1991.
91, okay.
Yeah, that became popular
so
there.
That's still baby boomer-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then MSNBC, I think, came in 2000. I think Fox came in 2000. MSNBC came after that.
Yeah, I remember Fox. I was like, wait, the channel that has In Living Color and The Simpsons. Wait, the Republican? It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that, like I said, we did not further shit. Now the millennials, who have the most work to do, by the way, I feel have the least tools to do the work socially. But I think technology-wise, they have all the tools to do the work. And my interest is, are they going to do the work, or do they just agree with their parents? So my theory is that I think my generation really didn't agree with our parents. Like our parents, you got to get up and go to work every day. It's like, dude, we're gonna sleep in. So to go into millennials, like I said, millennials have the most work to do. Unfortunately, the two generations ain't did shit. Have the most access and the most things to do the work, but the least skills, in my opinion, to do the work necessary. Because the work necessary is not just making change, it's convincing people to make change with them.
So it's like a lot of soft skills and hard skills, and hard skills in technology.
Yeah. And so, like,
that is weird though. It's like you haven't applied people skills in conjunction with an automated coming world.
You're gonna have to. Yeah. You're gonna have to, because, and it's not just gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. And so the reason why I say that I don't believe that millennials are equipped right now with it is because participation trophies,
softness,
just never being punched in the face, never being challenged.
As a millennial, I felt like I was not pushed hard enough.
Yeah, not being challenged. Yeah. So like I literally see people who, like, they'll take a class I'm giving, and it'll be a hard, physically challenging class, but nothing over the top. So this is what I consider over the top. If we come and I say, okay, we're gonna start with 100 push-ups, then 100 crunches, then 100 squats. Now we're gonna do some kickboxing. Now go home. That's a pretty fucking hard class. I mean, if you're not somebody who's there, but if you're doing like 25, 25, 25, and you're like, all right, that's enough. No, it's not enough. It's not a lot, you know? Like 25 push-ups, 25 crunches, and 25 squats. And you're like, I literally have people after they're like, dude, I'm just not used to this type of work. And I'm like, dude, like the things that prepare you to do something hard or physically challenging, I just don't think it's as present as it is. Now, there's a lot of people who jog, there's a lot of people who do this, and a lot of people do that. But what I'm talking about is doing things that are so uncomfortable and so outside the box.
We're talking about mindset.
We're talking about building a mindset through pain and suffering. So
and failures. A lot of losses.
So one thing is that, like, my generation, I'm going to say we were lazy, but we failed a lot. And so failing a lot made me say, okay, since I'm failing, I'm not going to give up. Flashing light outside. It's gone now. Aliens. But since I'm failing, I'm not going to give up. I got to push because I don't have a choice, because honestly, I fucked up all my opportunities anyway. So I got to just go through with this shit. I just got to make this work. And so that's kind of like my generation. So we were equipped, but I think that now things are bad. Look what you got to deal with.
The skyrocketing college debt.
Yeah. So college debt, you got to deal with it, right? Now I know, like, well, I'm just not going to go to college, and that's a soft way of dealing with it. Well, that's a soft way of looking at it, but honestly, it's going to affect everybody. So like, if everybody defaulted on their college debt, it would be just like the mortgage crisis.
Yeah.
And we cannot depend on people.
Well, they already started capping because you were talking to me, because this is what kind of shocked me. You were talking about when you had a college loan that there was compounding interest. I was like, wait, my loans didn't really happen like that. So that was a little shocking to me.
Yeah, there's actually people who paid.
So would say, I don't know the data. Would you say even millennials have the same kind of issue with the compounding interest?
Yes, they have the worst. So
really?
Paid $30,000.
I got lucky.
A $50,000 college loan. Let's see what it comes out.
Like interest rate?
Yeah.
Are you looking at the interest rate?
Well, no. There's just people who paid 30. A grad student making $30,000 paid off $60,000 in loans. That's not a lot. But there's people who have certain loans that they have compounding interest, and thank God I paid off those loans, and I just have regular loans now. But it's like somehow they paid $50,000 or $30,000 on a $32,000 loan, and they still owe $10,000 because that's interest that they paid. And so there's just stuff like that you're just like, you see stories like that, and a lot of people put them up, and it's like, okay, there's some issue. I can't, I didn't have it prepared pulling it up. So that's one of the things. Another things you're going to have to deal with is global warming and the effects of global warming. So like the effects of global warming will not be realized in my lifetime probably, but at the end of a millennial's lifetime, they'll probably see like the ocean levels rising uncomfortably and things like that. I mean, we do see things like Venice Beach I'm sorry, Venice in Italy, being flooding at high tide. We do see stuff like that, but we don't. We have not, seen it to a fact where you're like, okay, you're gonna have to just go somewhere. You can't live in San Francisco anymore. So when I'm saying that, like, you guys have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work to do, but the only way the work's going to get done is with the cooperation of other people and getting other people on your side.
With different generations.
And millennials are the most disrespectful to different generations that I've ever seen. I've seen motherfuckers drop shit like first of all, stuff that they know and millennials are very easy to say shit that they know they can't say to someone's face.
Passive aggressive, you mean?
Yeah, and they're actually surprised when people beat the shit out of them. Like, that's one thing that I noticed. It was the hipsters who had moved into the Mission when I was at a dojo in the Mission in 2008 to 2012, I think it was, or 13. 2007 to 2013. I was down in the
What
Mission.
would you say characterize a hipster?
Well, there are people who had moved. We call them people who they had the big beard and a lumberjack shirt but couldn't change a tire on a car because they didn't have a car. Let's be real. They didn't have a car. They took public transportation. They were transplants from different spots of the country, mostly, from Connecticut and places like that from the East Coast. And that they just
That were more loyal still back to their...
Yeah, like they were just here to make money, but they walked around kind of like assholes. Like they just didn't really respect where they were. They hated San Francisco, but they were here for the money, and San Francisco pays good money, but they're going to talk shit about San Francisco. So they would be walking around in neighborhoods that were still bad, like the Mission, and like shoulder bumping people. Like I literally had a guy shoulder bump me.
No way.
Yeah, and I turned around.
Where do you get all this stuff, man?
Well, no,
just so you keep
but he was shoulder bumping everyone.
And
I seen him, and I turned around and I said, "Hey, dude, you're gonna get fucked up doing that here."
What was he shoulder? Was it because he came from New York, where they're always
he was
like
just
running,
walking through people? And like he was just walking through people,
like the Verb, like that one music video. Just
and I just turned around and
shoulder checking people.
Yeah, and I turned around and I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around. And he said, "Huh?" And takes off his headphones, and now he's totally like, "Huh?" Like what's? And I'm like, "You're gonna get fucked up in this neighborhood doing that. Trust me, dude. This is not what you
What
think
year
it
was
is.
that?
This is 2007.
Okay.
I said, this is not what you think it is. It's like there's still monsters out here. Watch yourself, And he was like, oh, okay, he kind of looked at me like I was an asshole, and literally the next day I seen dude get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't have nothing to say about it, right? But that was like those corrections are still out there, but they're not going to come. So being disrespectful, saying something like the new thing is to say, okay, boomer. And that's so cool, right? Okay, boomer. All right. Could you imagine someone saying, okay, old guy, to somebody who like served in World War II? It's just disrespectful. And so I say that millennials are probably the most disrespectful. Millennials are probably the most disrespectful group that I've seen to older people, where I was never going to be disrespectful to somebody older than me when I was young.
I think it's because it's the familiarity, which I guess that saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt. So I think that's possibly the whole millennial vibe, is that, at this, where there was a first name basis among parents. So it was almost like a breaking down of
authority,
social, like, what is it? The social construct of like a family and of people in the neighborhood. Because we used to call people, I mean, my dad always told me, oh, call him Mr. Reese or Mr. something.
You had to call him Mr.
And then it started becoming more of a first name basis, and parents wanted to be your friends,
when and like people like talking mad shit back to parents, where I would say something back to my mom or my generation.
Temper tantrums too. Where you can,
but not kids getting temper tantrums, but like I seen like a 14-year-old.
That's what I'm saying. Like adolescents and teenagers getting temper tantrums.
Yeah. Okay. So
and even like people in their 20s get temper tantrums.
And I see people I seen people like cry for stuff not going their way.
Entitlement.
And they'd be like in their 20s. I'd be like, why are you like, I remember I literally looked at a dude who was crying when I was working. I was working at a Bed Bath & Beyond in Seven Tail. And
Do I know this individual?
I think you were there, but the
Uh-huh.
person was crying, and I said, "Why are you being a bitch?" I just asked him, dude. I was his boss's boss too, and I was just like I walked up and he was crying, and he was like crying over like something that happened,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Why are you being a bitch about this, dude? It's
He was literally crying?
yes,
Like actually crying.
And I was like,
tears running in the face.
Yeah, and I was like, do you just want to go home?
Uh-huh.
Because I don't understand what's going on here because like
You weren't being empathetic enough.
yeah,
Gotta show compassion.
Yeah, nobody gave a fuck
Some
about
soft
compassion. Dude, I was like, but he was crying because someone challenged him someone called him out for not doing his job. And it wasn't me. It wasn't
him out for not doing his job.
Like he said he did something and somebody said, "Hey, I'm tired of going behind you and covering for you. Fucking do your job." And dude started breaking down. He was like,
it had to do with me, right?
Huh?
Like with me confronting that one person that one day?
No, because you weren't working. You
Okay,
were working
okay.
You were working in the morning.
Like, okay.
You were in the
I
morning.
was like, he cried? What?
You were in the mornings.
Okay.
And that this person was in the evenings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But someone just called him out and the person was like, and I was like, "Are you mad?" He's like, "No, his feelings were hurt."
Mm-hmm.
And that goes from just getting like being told that you win all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, being told that you win all the time is the worst thing that you can do to people.
So one thing I will say that connects baby boomers to Gen Xers to millennials, because there is like a undertone of how you're saying that millennials are soft and they've been getting participation trophies, consolation prizes, whatever. But I feel like all generations, what we all have in common, that's a very bad trait, is the victim mentality and wanting to blame other people.
Blame other people.
If you notice now, the generations are blaming each other, which is like, whoa. Like for us to get out of this, we should have 3 generations thinking as one.
Well, I don't think any 3 generations ever think as one. But I do say this: now that we live in a world of like not real facts, we like our facts aren't real anymore.
And fact checking.
In fact, even though we can fact check something, and like so now you fact check something and people say, "I don't believe that," but it could be cited and whatever. I just don't believe it.
What's worse is like they'll think something is fact and they go hashtag facts, or like, oh, that's facts. It's like, no, it's not.
Then you tell them that it's actually not facts. It's actually the opposite of facts.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I don't accept that." And so that's the biggest problem is that.
And that's another big problem amongst the generation, not wanting to accept the different perspectives of each generation, what they can bring to the table.
And that's one thing, and that's why the millennials have the hardest part, because they have to be the most flexible. They have to be the most flexible because they're the ones who have to make the change
and have to be more compassionate too. Speaking of their. Because think about this: if we're so much in our feelings as millennials, because we kind of are. Like I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like I'm more in my feelings than the previous generation.
Drake ass motherfuckers, man.
But the thing is, it's also being so sensitive where you can't take criticism or wanting to see if you can find a solution to the issue. So actually, with our being sensitive, we should be even be more compassionate.
It's like
and wanting to work with each other.
It's like the snide, passive aggressive remarks that people make. It's like, do you really think that's going to help you when the lights turn off? Like, I think that millennials are so far.
What do you keep calling us millenniums?
Because that's what you should be. Millennials are so far away from actual problems that there have been. They're so removed from the greatest generation, where like the lights were going to go off if you didn't fight,
and you get drafted.
Yeah, and you
went to prison if you didn't go fight.
You just had to fight. You just had to.
Or go to Canada.
You just had to fight. Right?
Yeah, because actually with the, oh my God.
Unless you're Donald Trump.
Desert Storm 2. It's not called Desert Storm 2. What is it called? Operation Freedom?
Iraqi Freedom.
Iraqi Freedom? Well, that was more of a voluntary.
Everywhere's been voluntary since Vietnam. Everywhere's been voluntary since
Vietnam. Because I filled out a draft card, but it was like, oh, it's voluntary. And I'm like, I don't want to go fight for that.
Everywhere's been voluntary since Vietnam War. There has not been no draft. I actually think that we should have the draft as long as we're fighting people overseas.
No, and that would make sense. And if it's like the Nazi regime or the Japanese Empire at the time.
I think we should have a draft for Afghanistan. We're going to stay in Afghanistan. We've been there for over 10 years.
Oh, really?
Why don't we have a draft? I bet you that'll make us end the war.
So taking in basically an extreme position to make radical change.
No, saying that, guess what? Everybody's going to have to pitch in and not fucking 5% of the population.
Which actually also, that brings it to mind, is that 5% of the population that do go in, really going either because they've committed crimes and they have no other option, so they get forced in the military, which I'm talking about younger people.
Yeah.
And the other one are disadvantaged people that go in for the benefits
You're
and
just
whatever.
poor.
And there, of course, there are some that want to go serve for greater
but a
purpose
lot
and
of people
stuff.
are just poor.
But yeah.
And so, like, but I'm just saying, you know, and I know people are going to slam me for it. I know millennials are going millennials. Fuck, I'm fucking up. Millennium Falcons. No, millennials are going to slam me for saying that they have the least skills needed to deal with the issues. But it's true. You can't turn around and fucking talk.
Least resources.
Well, no, they have the least skills.
Like what kind of skills?
The soft skills, and
people skills, emotional
but they have the most resources because they have all the information they need.
Yeah.
They have all the information they need. You can't relate to somebody, but you can read everything about their generation.
Mm-hmm.
Where in order for me to relate to the greatest generation, I had to go and sit my ass in the library and read about it or talk to somebody. They don't even have to talk to somebody.
So I was raised by boomer, my stepmom and my dad. So they were boomers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that anytime I wanted an answer to something, they forced me to go get a dictionary or encyclopedia.
Yeah, dude. That's what I had to do.
Or go to the library. Like
that's what I had to do to get information.
And even what's that? The Miller Fillmore or whatever. Did you guys have to do that? Where you actually have to go and look in magazines and books.
Yes.
And find
yes.
actual citations.
So all of that stuff was a pain in the ass, dude. And they can do this shit now by just going to Google or going to a computer, right? It's the greatest. You have the greatest access to information, but you can't use it to relate to people that you have to relate to.
Mm.
And so you think that it's cute to turn around and say, "Okay, boomer," or cute to. I literally had somebody tell me, "Well, you know, you're probably out of touch with that," or, you know, maybe you should, you know.
I've even said that to you. I'm like, Grover, be too cynical, man.
Yeah, you're out of touch with it. I'm like, but you have all the tools in the world to get in touch with somebody, but you choose to say you're out of touch or okay, boomer.
Mm.
That makes you a piece of shit. I'm sorry. It makes you an asshole. Like if I had to turn around and I remember I had to try to relate to people from the greatest generation because literally one of my mentors was that person. And this person had a lot of financial skill and knowledge.
Greatest generation?
Yeah, greatest generation, right? Financial skill and knowledge, but they were just old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, damn, this motherfucker's just old. He would say shit. He would just say shit I didn't understand.
Like, what do you mean?
Oh, dude.
Like using different vocabulary?
That motherfucker told me I was full of malarkey.
Yeah, that's a...
I was like, God damn, how old are you? I think I seen that shit on like, I seen that shit on like a Red Buttons.
Did you get like snazzy and stuff and things like that?
So what I did was,
Spiffy?
I got an encyclopedia and I read about this person's like history.
Encyclopedia is a book. Before Wikipedia, it was a Wikipedia inside of a book form. Yeah. And it was actual cited sources, not outside.
So I went to an encyclopedia and I got it and I literally read about something in this person's life and turned around and related to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even ran social experiments with seeing how, like with groups that I'm in, and I'll take
Facebook groups, the dirty ones.
No. Facebook groups like that are populated mostly by millennials. I did this today
with the Yang, especially in the
either Andrew Yang or like some nerd groups or stuff like that, right? And I literally said, I took a position that was so weak, and I said, here's my proof for this, a very weak proof. I said, you guys put up, and they said, well, that's not real. And I said, please put up proof to disprove it. Why am I going to do your job? That's your job because you said it wasn't real. My job is to say it's real and put up my proof. Your job is to discredit my proof with superior sourcing and knowledge.
Sounds like the scientific method right there.
It is. It's literally how everything gets done.
Yeah.
And it should be done. And you're not really allowed to say that's bullshit if somebody puts up proof without them offering it. You can say, oh, I don't believe it. Okay, well, please show me another source. Mm-hmm. And then somebody put up something and I said, all right, thank you. It took 49 messages of people telling me I was full of shit for someone to put up a source.
Mm-hmm. Really?
This is the problem. This is the softness.
So it's like getting so dug in their position of their emotion to a position.
It was only emotional.
But even there's outside evidence to go against contrary to whatever their belief system is.
Emotion.
Is an issue.
It was emotion and confirmation bias. That's all it was. So somebody said.
How was that source though?
How was that source? The source that they put up?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just as valid as my source.
Okay. But it took 49 responses
for someone just to put up something easy.
And this is mainly a millennial group.
It was 100% millennial.
So wait. Hold on. Everyone's a millennial.
Everybody who responded was a millennial.
So you were the only.
Everybody who responded was a millennial.
So who was the source person? Was that a millennial?
Huh?
Was the source person a millennial?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but everybody who responded was a millennial. And I know because I literally went into everybody who was responding, because it was 49 messages, there was 4 people responding. And everybody who responded, I checked their dates of birth, they were millennial.
So basically, the person that got the valid information, how long did they interact with you before they came up with that information?
12 messages.
12 messages. And what was their position in those 12 messages? Yeah. What was the content and context?
So here's how it went. This is bullshit. And I said,
just straight up off the bat, this is bullshit.
And I said, please offer proof to counteract this.
Okay.
Counteract my claim. If you believe it's not valid, right? That's your job, not my job. No, since you said it was bullshit, and you're being intellectually lazy because you're not backing your position.
Mm-hmm.
You're an ignorant person. Ad hoc attacks showed that you're not proving your position. It just shows that you're taking the easy way out. You're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Ad hoc attacks.
Wait, ad hoc or ad hominem?
Ad hoc is just a quick, easy way to say ad hominem.
Okay.
So ad hoc attacks show this and this. Oh, well, here. All right. So now you're reflecting. If you believe that this is, please show me proof one way or the other. You're putting this up from a very easy source. Please feel free to use a very easy source that you could find to do it.
Oh, so it was more like
it was so
they wanted to be like, oh, well, you're using. So you basically said, okay, I'm playing this game with this piece of information. Play the same game with me and provide the same information to counteract it,
or play a better game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to play that game. Just play a better game.
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing a social experiment to see how people react to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how they reacted? They reacted like somebody who's never been challenged before. Everybody there has never been challenged.
Okay, so this is, okay, think about it. Facebook, social media, what happens? People are bombarded with an algorithm that will show you information that you want, that you like. So now when these people go into the same groups and same pages, we also know what happens is the think group behavior. They become a herd mentality because they're only sticking with like-minded individuals. But the thing is, when you do something that has societal impact change, you kind of need contrary evidence to make a smart decision.
So there was 2 people who liked what I was saying, but they wouldn't say anything because they're part of the herd.
Mm-hmm.
Since I don't give a fuck about the group and being part of the herd, I think the group is weak. You know, I think it's full of weak people, but literally it was just over and over again. You could tell that they hadn't been challenged because everything was like, you're stupid, do something about yourself, do this,
do something about yourself,
and all types of stuff. And I was, and I was.
Did they know your age at that point?
No,
no,
but
okay.
and I was like, please allow me to just stay on my position.
Okay,
it's a very easy position to beat. I made it easily to beat on purpose. By the way, all of those people, just by nature of that interaction, I feel like I'm miles ahead of them in intellect because I'm literally like, because if somebody put up something, I'd be like, here's a
all right. So
here's a Wikipedia source. Enjoy
what's
yourself.
the sample size right here? We know this is sample size that you particularly interacted with Bay Area.
It was just like 5 people in the
Bay Area. Okay.
Yeah. It was 5 people. 2 of the people stopped immediately when I just kept saying the same thing. And then finally one of the person put up something and said, oh, I just prefer this. And I was like, and I said, this source is just as valid as my source. I believe that you were right. Thank you.
And
they couldn't even accept it.
They couldn't accept it.
They just kept going. So it's like, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. And so I just copy and pasted what I said over and over again. And then,
so I almost feel like that shows an inferior intellect because you're not willing to compromise or implement the information that you've got. And I don't know.
Well, the problem is that people have not been challenged at all. All right, so let's put it this way. They're not challenged intellectually in school. I'm going to tell you this right now because I could tell by the educational level of people that I'm interacting with that the public school system is failing people miserably. I mean, like the way I was challenged in school in the 90s was very good. And I was challenged by teachers to always take a position, stand on a position, and then if the position is proven, you must retreat from your position. I was taught Hitchens razor. I was taught a lot of things. A Hitchens razor is something that says, if I offer you proof and you offer something without proof, you're automatically disregarded.
Mhm.
I mean, you just can't spurt shit out of your ass,
Mhm.
right? Basically, a lot of things like that I was taught that I stood upon in debating and just public speaking. And when I'm looking at this, like you're supposed to be an intellectual nerd group, and instead, what they're posting about is just bullshit. And then when I posted something that was, by the way, dumb,
Mhm.
and it doesn't even matter what it does, it was dumb. But I just wanted to see if anybody would, because if you're not going to take time to disprove it, why are you so happy to comment on it?
Mhm.
Oh, well, it's just Facebook, stupid. Yeah, but you do that in all of your life.
Mhm.
I know I know people do that in all of your life.
Mhm.
Don't tell me that you automatically become a citation machine as soon as, well, I'm a citation machine here, but I don't use, but none of those skills here apply anywhere else. Like I only use logic and fact here, but I don't use logic and fact here, 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 or here. We all know that that's not the way it works.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sometimes you gotta retreat on the logic and facts.
no, I've also did something like this with Gen X's.
Mhm.
You know what happens?
What?
They just don't respond.
Really? They don't respond. Wait, they don't respond to a challenge, or they just like they don't care enough.
They're just like whatever.
They just don't care enough.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about that because actually my brother's mentality was like he would go back and give his opinion on things, but it was only enough prodding, or if you said something really, really dumb. But if it's something that was like kind of like
They just don't.
they don't really want to deal with it.
Yeah,
It's
just
like, it's not worth it.
It's so all of the characteristics. The reason why I was actually doing this stuff for the last few days, getting these characteristics right.
Mhm.
There are no boomer groups that
Yeah,
I
you've
can
been
really
doing
go
some
to.
pre-production or what?
I do work for the podcast, and so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about because I just think that like I think there's a big difference between the generations. But my last question to the generations, and this is what I believe that every generation tries to act like they're so different from the generation above them. Like I think that the millennials, whose a lot of parents are either very old Gen Xers like me or very young baby boomers.
Mine's an older bit.
I mean, older baby boomers.
Yeah, yeah.
Older baby, like very, very old baby boomers,
Yeah.
or I said that sideways, or like middle, or advanced years of Gen X.
Okay.
Right. So, but I tend to think that they just like think exactly like their parents.
Mhm.
They just want to do it a different way.
Well, think about it. When someone called you like, okay, boomer or whatever, it's like, what message are we sending to Generation Z or whatever the generation is going to be called? That's Generation Z.
Yeah.
You're sending the same message. So you guess what's going to happen?
Mhm.
Generation Z is going to act exactly the same way
Right.
you are acting towards boomer.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it against millennials. We should be the role models, the paragon of educating the millennials or the Generation Z what we need to do next to solve issues together and work together.
Also, something that I noticed about with millennials is that they respond very poorly to being bagged on or being capped on.
Mhm.
It's like they can't even take it.
Mhm.
Like if you start just going in on somebody, they'll just be like,
Not like trash talking on the
they
basketball
can't
court.
trash talk at all. Dude. Walk away. Like even like it's just had a personal interaction and someone said something to me, and I was like, dude, are you trying to be funny? Almost as funny as that connecting ass eyebrow you got, dude. And that motherfucker was like, seriously, like, well, and I was like, oh, is it on? Say something.
Mhm.
Say something. He's like, no, fuck that. And he just walked away. And I was like,
Mhm.
but you were trying to be funny.
Mhm.
So you just gonna take it back? Because in my generation, you were accountable for everything, man.
The Ooga Booga?
Ooga booga,
Tell that story again.
All right, so dude, we were all clowning, and like I grew up with like Samoan cats, Mexican cats, like 3.5 black dudes and one black and one, because one person was half. His name was Vincent Cooper from Colorado. He's half black, and one cat and Vince Coop, man. I still remember your light skinned ass, and one cat who was like nobody knew what the fuck he was. He was like a Native American or something. We just assigned a race to him. We're assholes, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, we would make fun of each other. And one cat was making fun of a Samoan dude. Now, Samoan. Now, I know like Samoans.
Mhm.
I know that it's joking all well and good, but there's a certain thing you don't cross.
Mhm. What's that?
Shit, you just got to know.
You gotta know what the trigger is.
Instinctively, you just gotta say, oh, that motherfucker twitching a little. Let me stop, right? So this dude, like I think his name was Pana, but he would go hard on him. just clowning hard.
Mm-hmm.
Then one dude looked at him and said, "Ooka booka, ooka booka, coconut."
The coconut part, man. That coconut always gets me every time.
And Pana beat the dog shit out of this dude. And we just sat there and was like, "Oh, I think you went a little racist. I don't know." Just because we wasn't gonna fuck with Pana. Shit. Pana, shit, fuck that. Shit, I was gonna fuck with that motherfucker.
Oh, what's hilarious about it is how coconut become a racist after
I don't know, dude.
it just
I don't
became
know.
one. Like, what
I don't
the
know.
fuck?
I don't know, but man. All right, we've stopped our recording. Well, all right. So anyway, let's just call it here, man.
Okay.
So my whole thing with the millennials is this: you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
You got to get harder.
Mm.
Generation X help them.
Yeah.
Boomers, just don't fuck up anymore. This is a Happiness Podcast. I'm Grover.
I'm Scotty.
Like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notifications.
And what's the question?
The question is, Gen Xers, millennials, write in and talk shit. I want some. I want you to take a position and prove it.
Or not, but you can do that. Also, just leave in a comment what generation you are.
What generation you
we
are.
want to know who's watching.
What generation you are, and what do you think about the other generations around you?
All right, Millennial Scotty out.
Boom.
We're done.